Products or services discussed in the program. The station does not guarantee the results of any investments made by a listener to this program.
This is The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary is a San Diego financial solutions attorney, protecting people like you. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. Now, here's Gary.
Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Word on Wealth. One of my favorite people is on the line with me, and we are in our virtual studio together because he is actually in Tennessee and I am in California. So here we are together on the show on the Word on Wealth. Today is where we do talk about wealth with dollar signs with a faith-based twist. So the one thing that Anthony is really great at that I know my clients that use him are very thrilled about is that he makes sure that, of course, based on what you would like, is that the investments that you are doing, the money that you're spending, the companies that you're owning by going into the stocks are companies that support your own personal best interests, your faith-based and family-based interests. And that's what I like the most about Anthony. I appreciate it. So welcome to the show, Anthony. Welcome to the Word on Wealth. Mr. Wealthman, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, my friend. How's Gary today? How are you doing, buddy?
I am doing better than ever because it is Anthony time. Yeah, doing all right. Yeah, it's the holiday season. I love them. I love that we're headed to Christmas. We got the Thanksgiving was fantastic, and now we're headed to Christmas. It's all good. How are things with you back in the Tennessee?
We'll be ready because it's coming. You know it.
Yeah. So true.
It's coming.
I
bet you got some good questions for me today, though.
Oh, I always do. I have good questions for you. First, for my listeners, my favorite number when it deals with money is 931-RETIRED, RETIRED, 931 retired. Whether you're retired or not, someday you're going to be, someday you should plan on being. Hopefully you don't wait until you just fall asleep at your desk permanently, but you'll be able to enjoy it before that. And Anthony is the man to help you with that. Personal experience has been great with Anthony. I would highly recommend him if you have a question regarding your money and where you're going to put it. A lot of my clients will say, gosh, I just inherited this money. I don't know what to do with it. I mean, I could spend it, but I shouldn't. And I need to talk to somebody. And I just say 931-RETIRED, talk to Anthony's team. They're awesome. You like them. Anthony, so my first question is, when I'm talking to people about, a year or so ago, and the savings rates were like 0.05% was a high yield CD. And so people are like, oh my gosh, banks, they're idiots. Well, I'm not going to ever put my money in a bank or savings account. They don't make any money. I'm going to do anything but that. And now you have a situation where you've got savings accounts that are up in the 4, 5, 5.5% stuck in a savings account. So I want you to talk to our listeners about that a little bit. Like, how does that change the investment strategy? Does that mean we should just put everything in savings? Is 5% really that good? Or is there a better way to go when we're trying to make our retirement accounts grow to get to that special day when we can live off of them?
Well, it's a great question. And for some unknown reason, people are jumping on those, 5.5, 5.8% CD rates. I do not understand why. It's the craziest thing in the world you could do when inflation is growing at 11%, and then you get to the end of the year and you've made 5.85 that you have to claim as income. Then you have to pay interest on it. In the meantime, we hope and pray that you live another year. But in the meantime, if you died, the CDs are going to have to be claimed as income, even if they leave them as TOD, transferred on death or paid on death. Whoever inherits those CDs must claim that as income and pay the taxes. So by the time you pay taxes on 5.8%, man, and inflation is growing at 11, why in the world would you go buy a CD at the bank? It makes 0 sense to me. But I'll tell you why they give me the feedback. What they tell me is, well, Anthony, it's safe. We're afraid of the stock market. We're afraid that we're going to lose our money. So we had rather keep our money in the bank and keep it in a CD and pay taxes on it and know that it's there than we had put it in the market and lose it. Now, that's not a bad thing, and that's not a bad scenario. It's not a bad thought pattern, but that's why you come to a fiduciary, and that's why you come to an investment advisor, because there are other things that we can do that does not risk the principal, that can make you a lot better return than those 5.8% CDs. Now, here's the other thing, Gary. Once you commit, those 5.8 CDs are not 6-month CDs. Most of those CDs are asking you to tie up your money 3 to 5 years to pay you 5.8%. You can't even cancel them. You got to be tied up for 3 to 5 years. If you cancel it, you get charged a penalty. So once again, I'm not understanding, for those that are listening to you and I today, I really am not understanding why you would go to a bank and put your money in a CD. That is the absolute craziest, most ludicrous thing you could do, other than
2 minutes.
Money that you're going to need within 6 months. Fine, put it in a 6-month CD. But here's a news flash. You're not going to get 5.8.
Okay.
So if you put it in a 6-month CD or you put it in a 1-year CD, you're going to get closer to 2% or 2.5%, maybe 3.5%. So you're not going to get enough money to make a difference. By the time you claim it as income, by the time you pay taxes on it, and if you need the money, you can't get to the money. They're going to penalize you if you go in there and take it out early. So great question. Great topic to talk about today, because a lot of people are going that route, and it's terrible, because they're not even making enough money to
1 minute
with inflation.
Okay. And that's really that's your expert answer, folks. You got to hear Anthony Wright. He's the host of Faith-Based Investing. He's heard on the Word on Wealth here, KPRZ and KCBQ. He's with us every week. He has his own nationwide Sirius XM radio station at satellite channel 131. He's really been helpful to me and my family, and I really appreciate all of his advice. And you're getting it right here on the Word on Wealth. Coming up next, I'm going to ask Anthony about, well, if CDs aren't that great or banks aren't that great, what about T-bills? Aren't those like super safe? Isn't that where I should put my money? I'm just waiting, trying not to have such a big smile on my face, but I know Anthony is going to instruct us about those things. Coming up next right here on the Word on Wealth. Anthony's number is 931, retired, folks. We'll be right back.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is Faith-Based Investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christian families don't understand this one thing. The money that you're saving for retirement helps fund the abortion industry as well as other liberal anti-family causes. It's the sad, dirty little secret of American investing world. And here's the good news, though. You probably also didn't know that just a few minutes of your time, and we'll screen and clean your investments for you. There's no cost, no obligation. Learn the truth about your own investment mix. Then the choice is yours. Remember, the word says when God's money is in the hands of the righteous, the people rejoice. Well, we also are fiduciary investment advisor representatives. That means that our firm makes a pledge to always act in your best interest. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com. Download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing, or call me at 931-RETIRED. And please don't forget, listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Talk.
So Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that and why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. So have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. GQlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQlaw.com.
Who will you trust with the biggest financial decision of your lifetime? If you're planning to buy or sell a home in San Diego County, do what I do and work with the true San Diego real estate experts. Ken Pecos and the Pecos Group helped me and my family. They can help you. This is Gary Quackenbush of The Word on Wealth. You hear Ken every week here on The Word on Wealth. He's our expert. He's got integrity, exceptional service, deep knowledge of the San Diego, Coronado, and South Bay regions. These are just some of the reasons that Ken Pecos has completed hundreds of transactions. He manages a powerful team of professionals at the Pecos Group, from single-family attached homes to luxury high-value waterfront properties to apartment buildings. Ken Pecos is ready to help you avoid problems and costly mistakes. Learn more online at kenpecos.com. That's Ken Pecos, Pecus.com, or call 619-977-8419.
DRE number 010566969.
Something about Anthony's voice every time I hear it.
You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
You're listening to The Word on Wealth. We've got Anthony Wright, who's our financial fiduciary and our wealth management expert right here with us on this show. And you can call in to be part of the show. The number is 888-344-1170. So please, if you want to have your questions answered by Anthony, it's 888-344-1170. Directly to him, offline, is his office number, and that is 931-RETIRED. Okay, Anthony, we beat up the savings accounts with good measure and with good reason. So I'm going to switch. You talk to a financial advisor and they go, okay, you want any risk, right? Because you're super old. And so we're gonna manage you. We're going to put you in T-bills. And they have all kinds of treasury bills from all over the place. And you look at the return on the T-bills, it's like, that is really disappointing. So what is with T-bills? It seems like so many different rates and things are based off of the T-bills, and yet you see them and they're just not producing. And yet you hear people saying, but it's so safe. It's so safe. So talk to that a little bit. And then my next question, I want to make sure for 100 reasons is why should I not be my own DIY financial advisor? Why should I not do it myself if there's so much software and all these companies out there that'll say, we will help you, just click on here and whatever. I want you to address that very specifically today, but talk about T-bills a little bit, where we are with them, what's good, what's bad, why do we avoid them? And then we'll go into how to manage a portfolio professionally rather than DIY.
Yeah, that's really great questions, man. I tell you, you've been doing some awesome homework because you're coming up with these good questions. You'll probably have to come back and remind me on the second part of the question, but on the first part of the question, what a T-bill is a short-term treasury bill. So a short-term treasury bill is exactly what it says. It's government T-bill. So you can have like a 3-month T-bill, and they don't pay a whole lot of interest. In fact, I have an uncle that was very successful in business, and he and my aunt, they owned 2 car dealerships. And I tried my best, but sometimes you can't help family. But he had all of his money in T-bills. He liked it in that short T-bill route so that he could get to it quickly. And I just simply told him, you're not making enough interest to keep up with it. Well, that was about 10 years ago. And they sold their dealerships and they had all this money. It was millions. And I'm just sharing this because this tells you what inflation does to your purchasing power.
Mm-hmm.
So, I couldn't convince him any other way. He wanted it liquid. He wanted it where he could get to it at any time. Well, he got his wish. And when we buried him a couple of years ago, he didn't leave his wife nothing but the house they live in. It was all gone. And I'm talking millions.
Wow.
But it's just because they kept up with the lifestyle when they were in business, but they were only on T-bills, and those short T-bills, he liked that because my uncle was a wheeler dealer. So he also owns a couple of pawn shops. So he liked his money free, so he could just grab it and, buy and sell and wheel and deal, and he'd buy property and he'd flip this one, he'd flip that one, and he'd pay cash for all of it. And well, then the real estate market crashed, and then T-bills ain't even keeping up with inflation. So it eroded away at his purchasing power, and it completely shocked everybody. I mean, I didn't even know that. We had once we had buried him, and I just assumed my aunt would inherit all the money, and I never did really visit with him again, talk to him anything about it, and I just assumed everything would be fine. And then she was my mom's sister, so her and my mom are very close, and she called my mom wanting to sell some of their acreage because they have a beautiful home and swimming pool on that 70 acres. And she needed to sell it just to pay off the debt on the pawn shops, and then she would get to keep the house and 4 acres. And I'm like, you are kidding me. How is this possible? They sold both of those car dealerships for multi-millions. How is this even possible? So anyway, that's the reason you want to invest in something that keeps up with inflation, because if you don't, it's going to erode away at your purchasing power. Now, another way to say that, to keep it on more of a kind of a level, street level, would be you can't go to the movies today and it costs you the same amount of money that it cost you 20 years ago. Today, a family of 4, you got to have $100. Well, 20, 30 years ago, a family of 4 could go to the movies for 20. Maybe even 15.
Yeah.
So that's what eroding away at your purchasing power. In other words, that $100 bill that's now buying you those 4 tickets and your popcorn and your drinks. See, back 20 years ago, that $100 bill, you'd have still had 80 left over in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't. The whole 100 is gone. That's because inflation eats away at your purchasing power. You can't buy the same stuff for the same amount of money.
So that takes us your answer was just exactly what I was expecting, and I really appreciate your expertise on that. It takes me then kind of to you really kind of answered my next question, and that is, isn't it okay to just do it yourself? I mean, I can I can get like a Schwab account and they give me a free advice consultation and they get me all set up, and then it's locked and loaded and I set it and forget it and I'm going to retire in 20 years. I mean, what's the difference between having like a professional financial advisor like you, or just kind of seeing, hey, well, I read in the Motley Fool that this is a good stock. I think I'm just going to put my money in that. I'm just going to let it sit. What's the difference between those two strategies? Do it myself or have somebody do it professionally?
Great question. And without sounding sarcastic, but being Captain Obvious, if that worked, there'd be no investment advisors. If it was that easy, you just read Motley Fool's newsletter, take their advice, purchase their stock, there'd be no investment advisors anywhere, because everybody would just sign up for Motley Fool or I mean, some of those other names I can't remember, but I see them all around.
Yeah.
Agora is one of them. Agora newsletter. So without sounding like a smart aleck, it doesn't work. If it did, that's what everybody would do. Now, you know this about me. You know that me and my wife are very active in church, and you know that we work with a lot of couples in divorce care and blended families, which are just step families, people that have been married, had kids, and they've gotten a divorce, and now they've remarried somebody else that's got kids, and that's a whole different set of circumstances. Well, one of the first things that I lay down in the law, so to speak, before I ever meet with those people, if they're trying to avoid divorce and they're trying to make things work, the first thing I look at them when I sit down with them and I'm staring them in the face, and I said, without hurting your feelings and without sounding mean, if you're going to keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting the same results, because that's what got you here. You would not be here in front of me if what you're doing worked. So the only way I'm going to agree to counsel you and put this marriage back together is that you listen to me and that you do exactly what I say do, because I know how to get you through these things. But you have to listen to me. If you do not listen to me and you go back doing the same stuff, you're going to get the same result. And me as your counselor is not going to help you. So it's the same scenario. If you think doing it yourself works, Gary, in 15 years now that I've been doing this, I have never had a do-it-yourselfer outperform me. Never.
Yeah. And I mean, that it makes total sense. It just, to me, it's important to hear that articulated, because it's like, I mean, if you look at the cycle, like in 2 years ago, anybody that had any money invested anywhere felt like they were on top of the world because everybody was doing great. And you thought, okay, this is great. You could have done a lot better with a investment advisor. And I had a lot of people saying, no, I'm doing really great. I'm making all this money. I don't need an investment advisor. And I said, but what happens when the market doesn't go up by itself and it starts to take a dump? And when you start to lose money, then what are you going to do? How are you going to see that coming? And none of them did. That's the thing. It's like when times are good and great, it's not that hard to do okay. But why would you be okay with okay when you can do good or great by having a financial advisor during good times and during bad times? Because that's what's really going to get you through. And I just know statistically, and my wife reminds me of this all the time. She says, statistically, it is proven empirically that those that have a financial advisor always do better than those that don't. And I always recommend Anthony. Anthony, I really appreciate the time you spent. It went super fast today. I appreciate all you're doing for me, my family, my clients. 931 retired, you guys, is the only number you need to know when it comes to money management, financial. That's going to be 931 retired Anthony Wright. Keep listening every weekday here on The Word on Wealth. And every Thursday, you're going to hear Anthony. Anthony, thanks a lot, brother. Have a great rest of your day, man.
Thanks, my friend.
Okay.
Give my love to your wife.
I will. Same for your wife. Talk to you later. Thanks,
right.
Anthony.
See you.
All right. Bye. All right. Coming up next, a little bit of review, and then we're going to get into some stories right here on the Word on Wealth.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We are here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST.
Have today's economic conditions and high inflation made it difficult for you in retirement? Hi, I'm Shane Sletter, the mortgage advisor on the Word on Wealth. You hear me with Gary Quackenbush, answering your questions every Tuesday at 2 p.m. For over 20 years in San Diego, I've specialized in home financing solutions for seniors as they get older and their families. If you qualify, a reverse mortgage allows you to convert part of your home equity into either a lump sum, line of credit, or much needed monthly income. You're insured and protected against ever owing more than the value of your home. And you don't have to sell your home, give up title, or get new conventional mortgage financing with monthly payments. The program is designed to make it easier for seniors to qualify. I will walk you through every step of the process. To receive a free reverse mortgage guide by mail, text REVERSE to 858-683-1716. Or give me a call on my direct number, 858-683-1716.
Licensed with the state of California. NMLS ID number 239958. DRE number 01174642.
Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. gqlaw.com.
So good to have you along on this Thursday here on the Word on Wealth. Anthony Wright, you know, he's my favorite financial guy, and his number is 931 retired. What happens is, like, when you inherit money and it's a lot more money than you had, right? And most people, it's shocking the amount they get. Maybe it's 50,000, maybe it's 100,000, maybe it's 500,000, maybe it's millions. And one of the first things that we do is usually when you inherit money, there's nothing you can really do to kind of prepare for that and get ready. It's like, okay, I'm knowing I'm going to inherit, $100,000. So I'm going to go do whatever to prepare myself for that. You can, but until you actually have it, that's when, sometimes you feel a little nervous, like, oh my gosh, I have this money. I've never had this much money before. Are people going to be contacting me trying to take my money? It's just kind of nerve wracking. I've heard that it's a wonderful nerve wracking, but it's like something to watch out for. And most people want some type of financial advice. And I just send them to Anthony, 931 retired. You can go to any financial advisor you want. You just got to interview. What I do is I have multiple people that help me. I'll have, money with Anthony, certain amount that I want with him. I'll have money with another financial advisor. And then I have some, sitting in a different account. But the whole idea is you want to surround yourself with professionals that know what they're doing, that you feel comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with them or what they're doing with the money or how your money's earning money, then that's when you need to make a change. Just do the research, figure out, what you should be doing, figure out who's going to help you. If you're going to do it yourself for some of your portfolio, that's fine. Some financial advisors say, yeah, that's fine. Take this 50,000 or 10,000 or 5,000 and do whatever. We'll let you manage that part. We'll do everything else. And that's kind of cool too. If you have a financial advisor that just says, oh, heck no, we can't, we're not going to allow that. We either get it all or nothing. That's when you turn away from, because that's really silly for somebody to say it's all or nothing. I've actually talked to financial advisors that will say, yeah, whatever, that's fine. You keep that over here in your, Schwab, Neuberger Berman, X consulting group, wherever, and then you can kind of manage and advise us on that. And that way, if you lose it, it's your fault, whatever, but at least you've had that experience. So get a financial advisor that you really like. I would try Anthony first if I were you, 931 retired, and go that route, because he's good. He really is. He's a good guy. He's got a lot of experience and really good people that work with him. That's super cool. Retirement accounts, big issue. Ran into it yesterday, the day before, like, on what do you do with retirement accounts in your estate plan. And the thing to keep in mind is if it's an IRA or a Roth IRA, those are two different animals, right? If it's a Roth IRA, if you inherit a Roth IRA, when you take the money out, it's not taxable because it's already been taxed and it grows tax-free. A regular IRA, a traditional IRA, which now becomes an inherited IRA when you receive it, it could have been originally a 401k that you inherited, and now it's an inherited IRA, because you don't get an inherited 401k or an inherited 403b or inherited 457 plan. That doesn't work that way. When you inherit money as a retirement account, it's always an individual retirement arrangement, IRA. Okay, so with that inherited IRA now, there's certain rules where you have to take the right amount of money out over the next 10 years, or you're going to get a 50% penalty on monies that you should have taken out and didn't. And it is not forgivable, not reversible, and they don't care. The rules are the rules. You got to obey them. If you have a financial advisor, that's the first thing they're going to do is make sure that they've got the clock ticking and the calendar set so that they know this is an inherited IRA, and they will help you figure out exactly what you need to do on an annual basis to make sure you don't hit those enormous penalties. It's just because they're crazy, and there's a reason for that, because the IRS wants to make sure that IRA is fully taxed, fully liquidated within 9 years of the date of the death of the person that you inherited it from. So how do you put that in your trust? I got into a little not argument, but I was talking to a guy, and they were saying, well, my IRA is in my trust. I said, it can't be. Nope, it's in my trust. So then I went through the clarification saying, okay, typically with an IRA, you have to designate who the beneficiary is. And if you have a living trust, what you do is you designate that the beneficiary of the IRA is either the successor trustee of your living trust, or it is that it is given to the successor trustee of the living trust for the benefit of a particular child beneficiary, for example. So it would be like that, when it says who's the beneficiary, you'd say 25% is payable to my daughter Brienne, or to my successor trustee on behalf of my daughter Brienne. So that way the money goes through my trust, the successor trustee that I have chosen, that has stepped up to do the job. They're the smart ones that make sure that that money is going to the right place, that the right amount of money is coming out. They're working with financial advisors, whoever. But the IRA itself, that account cannot be titled in the name of the trust. It always is in the name of an individual. And the way that money moves around is by beneficiary designation. Okay. Or power of attorney. So one of the critical things when you're dealing with an estate plan is, do you have a lot of retirement accounts? Like is most of what you own retirement accounts that cannot be put in a trust, that just have a beneficiary designation, and maybe it puts it all into the trust for distribution. But you have to be careful, because what if that's all you have and now you become incapacitated? Then all of your money is outside the trust. The successor trustee, though you are incapacitated, they will be acting on your behalf, but they can't get to the IRA or that retirement money because it's sitting outside the trust. The only way they're going to get to it is get a court order to declare you incompetent and get a conservator appointed over your estate, or if you've left them a power of attorney. So that's the conversation we need to have. When I ask you questions about what's your house worth, tell me about retirement accounts. Is that an IRA, a Roth IRA, a 401k? What is it? Part of the reason I'm asking so many details, and some people say, why are you asking me so much? I need to know that stuff because I need to be able to advise you and say, yeah, you should have your IRA pour into your trust after you die, and then they'll be distributed to the kids. Well, if you tell me it's a $2 million IRA, I'm going to change my tune and we're going to come up with a much more sophisticated plan than that. If it's a couple $100,000, typical IRA, then yeah, we can do that for the benefit of a beneficiary managed by the trustee, as long as they're financially mature. Okay. So it goes in there, it gets in the trust after you die by beneficiary designation. Roth IRAs do the same. There's just a big difference in how they get taxed. Okay. The next one is, what about, so these are funny, okay? What about metal? It's investment day, right? We were talking to Anthony Wright earlier today, but what about your metal? What about gold? You have, a 1 ounce silver, it's not a brick, but I mean, the 1 ounce silver brick or gold brick is teeny tiny. It's the diameter of a pencil. It's only about 3/4 of an inch long to be 1 ounce. But, what if you have physical gold at your house? What if you have, physical silver or physical platinum or like that type of thing? Well, you have to be able to identify that. And so you would make sure that it's either in your safe deposit box or that it's identifiable. So if you want it specifically to go to a particular beneficiary or a particular child, you have to be able to identify it and tell the trustee that it's in the closet or it's in the safe or whatever, and you specifically identify it. If you don't identify it, you don't say where you want it to go, it's going to be divided through the remainder. It's just going to divide up in equal shares, which is totally typical. Okay. Next question that I want to answer is, what about a business? Okay. This is super important. Okay. Let's say you have a sole proprietor. Sole proprietorship. It's just you and your spouse, you and your kids, whatever. You have a sole proprietorship business. You're making good money. That's how you've supported yourself. And then you die. Who gets to run the business? Well, who's authorized to run the business? It was your company. You set up the bank accounts, you write the checks, you sign the checks, you do the contracts and everything. Who now is going to be you? The best you can do at that point, if you don't have any estate plan, is you could have somebody have your power of attorney and maybe could step in and you complete some of your contracts or stuff like that. But that's kind of a difficult challenge because you won't be here to run your personal service business. I am always a big fan of, instead of doing, having it outside your trust, is transfer your sole proprietorship to your living trust through a bill of sale, so that technically it's the trustee or successor trustee that's in charge of that business that technically owns it and can run it, manage it, pay the bills and stuff. So there's got to be ways to do it with businesses. And I'm seeing way too many people that don't have their businesses in their trust, and their business is worth, a couple $100,000 or $500,000 or $600,000 or $700,000 or more, and it's not in the trust. That's a big asset. When we come back, I want to talk about a better way to get that business in your trust ready to transfer to your beneficiaries. Coming up next on The Word on Wealth. Call me 855-500-TRUST, 855-500-TRUST, and let me help you out.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
So, Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that? And why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. So have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call to request your free consultation. GQlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQlaw.com. Your Christmas table.
So cool. Okay. As promised, we are talking about estate planning. That's the second part of this show today. If you have an estate planning person that you like and they're your favorite estate planner, good. That's awesome. You should have. You got to be able to trust that person to do what you want them to do. So that's how you know it's done right. You trust them. You feel good about it. That's about it with estate planning. And there are ways to do, your 13-point test to make sure your trust was done right by your attorney. A lot of this stuff is like, whatever. It depends on whether your estate plan fits your particular needs. There's no need for somebody that has, a house and retirement account and some cash and some cars and some kids. There's no reason for them to have a trust that's 150 pages long with all these incredible details and this. Yeah, I see way too many trusts that are overkill times 10. I mean, just really, really big, detailed, crazy trusts. We're fighting in a couple of them where the trusts are just really detailed, and then there's some provisions later on in the trust that kind of throws everything else out the window. It was just the craziest thing. There's no way that the person signing it could have really understood all that, and I doubt that they were explained all that. But yeah, it's irrevocable on the first death, and there's going to be a split between an A and a B and a C trust, perhaps, blah blah blah. However, we're going to leave the survivor the right to change the trust and basically defeat all of that ABC trust that was designed to protect the person that dies first. I mean, I'm serious. Some of the stuff that gets drafted into trusts drives me crazy because it seems unfair to me. I want people to understand what they're doing. I want it to be simple enough where they can understand it. I have seen multi-million dollar estates. I mean, estates with like 15, 18 million dollars in them. And the trust was very simple. It was give it to my kids. If my kids are dead, give it to my grandkids, divide it equally. This person's in charge. If they can't do it, then this person's in charge. And the trust was 20 pages long. Totally fine. Tax returns were done. Accounting was done. There was some issues with the beneficiaries, all that stuff. It was absolutely ridiculous if it would have been a 100-page long trust, because it doesn't make sense. You don't have to go that detailed. It's just, you just don't. I just don't. I think some people sell their estate plans by the pound. And I'm kind of ranting here because I'm a little frustrated. Prices are higher. The pandemic pushed everything higher. I mean, for crying out loud, our minimum wage now is $17 an hour. That's just like, really, did anybody, even listen during economics 101? You raise the minimum wage that high and it causes everything to go up. You're thinking, oh, we're going to raise minimum wage. So, people that they have this minimum wage job that they can survive and have their own rental and maybe get into a house, whatever. But by doing that, what you do is you have these big companies. Now I really am ranting, but you get these companies that say, I'm not going to, okay, minimum wage is $17 an hour, but I don't have to pay a computer anything. Why would they keep minimum wage workers? They can replace them with a computer, with automation, with a robot. It's to keep prices down. So I don't know. We just do these really weird things like, I know we're going to make everybody happy. We're going to make minimum wage $35 an hour, and that'll make everybody happy. No, because then the price of McDonald's hamburgers is just going to go up to $15. It's going to keep up. There has to be, if you're making minimum wage, you got to figure out how to get out of that situation. I'm not being unfair. If you're in that situation where you're making minimum wage, there's a reason for that. Get yourself out of it. Become self-employed. Start up your own business. Maybe if you're in a minimum wage job, start your own business anyway. Have more than one source of income. You get fired from a minimum wage job, which is going to happen. I mean, it's just a minimum wage job. You're going to get fired because things will change seasonally and they just go, oh, you're just the minimum wage workers. You're out of here. I mean, what good is that? So start your own business. All right. So we're talking about businesses. Now we're talking about you're an old guy like me and you have your own business and now you're trying to get it so that when you retire or when you die, that business can go on to your children. Now, your kids, like mine, may say, heck no, I'm not going to be an attorney, or I'm not going to be a therapist, or, I'm not going to run an auto parts store. I have no interest in that. That's not me. That's not what I signed up for. That's not what I want to do. But you don't want to just like let it crash and go, down to nothing and then not be worth a dime. So, what you're trying to do is make it so that that small business that you own is transferable to your beneficiaries. It may not be that they want to run it. It may be that they want to close it and sell it, but let them have the opportunity to close it and sell it, or, sell it before they close it, obviously, but to make some money off of the thing itself in a transition to somebody who's going to be responsible to carry forward your legacy in that business. And the easiest way to do that is to put it into a corporation or to LLC. And then you take the stock of that LLC and you transfer the stock ownership of that LLC, of the corporation, you transfer it to your living trust. So you have the stock of your corporation, your stock certificate that says Gary Quackenbush owns this corporation, owns 100,000 shares. Well, mine doesn't say that. Mine says, Gary and Cheryl Quackenbush, trustees of the Quackenbush Family Trust, owns the shares of my corporation. So when I'm dead and my wife's dead, the trust is the one that's got the shares, which means my successor trustee, who I named to work in my stead after I'm gone, can now do whatever it takes to wrap it up, to close it down, to get value out of it, and pay it off to my kids. And that's the way to go. With a sole proprietor, it is possible in certain circumstances. It is just a lot more difficult. A lot of sole proprietorships, when the sole proprietor owner dies, the business just goes away. People go, oh, well, whatever, we're done. Because nobody else can run it. Nobody's on the bank account. You're going to put your employees in the bank account. You're going to put your brother, your friend, maybe your spouse, but who are you going to put on the bank account? You want to do it through a trust. And one of the easiest ways is to incorporate or become an LLC. And that alone may be a reason to do corporation or LLC, besides the tax benefits and the legal protections and the asset protection, which is all cool. I'll do a show on that, eventually. Like, we'll talk about, corporations, partnerships, LLCs, and how that works. In the meantime, if you've got questions on that, I have a free book. Gary's got a free book. Go to my website. GQ, like Gary Quackenbush, my initials, gqlaw.com. And on the website, on every page in the margin, there's offers of free books, Living Trust Basics, Tax Bankruptcy, and there's one called Accidentally Self-Employed. It's because that's what I was. I thought I was doing great. I had an employee job, and all of a sudden I was out on my own, and I became accidentally self-employed, and I've been happily self-employed for 30 years since then. 30, way more than 30 years since then. So the book, Accidentally Self-Employed, talks about how partnership, limited partnership, LLC, corporation, how they all work, how they're governed, and what protections they offer, and what paperwork is required to keep them going. So it's a good book to have. It's free. It's a little tiny book. It's short. It prints out in 8.5 by 11 pages. It's only, sorry, I can't remember. It's about 20 pages. And it just explains, should I incorporate or become an LLC or not? And it helps. So other than that, if you want to know how that applies to your situation, give me a call, get an appointment, get on my calendar, and let's talk about it. 855-500-TRUST. And we can talk about it. Is it better for you? Does it work for you? Is it a good idea? I mean, sometimes I just will talk you out of it. Like, you don't make enough money. It's not worth it. You don't have any assets, that are, you don't worry about it. Or yeah, let's do a corporation. Let's do an LLC. Figure out what's the easiest way for you, what fits you best based on your industry, based on your risk tolerance, based on how much money you're making, based on a lot of things. And figure that another added huge benefit of being a corporation or an LLC is that you can transfer your shares of ownership to your living trust, so that when you die, if you're still on the corporation, when you die, your successor trustee of your trust, right? The successor trustee now is the one that is the stockholder for the benefit of those, your beneficiaries. So they're going to make the transfer, or they're going to sell and give the cash. So it's a good way to go. Corporations, LLCs, partnerships, not so much. Limited partnerships, not so much. There are different things that you can do with those. But if you want to have that conversation, it's 855-500-TRUST. All right. The number 3 thing that we really want to cover in the last couple of minutes in the show is kids going away to college. Okay. They're going to come home for Christmas break, and you're going to go, whoa, Gary said that I can't get any of your financial information, your grades, get into your email. I can't do anything because you're an adult and you have the right to privacy. Well, I would like to be able to manage your finances, since I'm sending all my money with you to college, and I want to be able to have access to the bank accounts and stuff like that and see what's going on. That requires a financial power of attorney. The bigger thing, in my opinion, is that if your child is over 18, you've sent them off to college, I don't care if you pay for their tuition, their housing, and everything, or nothing. They're 18. They have the right to privacy under the Health Insurance Privacy and Portability Act, which is HIPAA. Under the HIPAA laws, they're 18. If you don't have a written authorization to talk to the healthcare professional about your child's condition, they cannot talk to you, and they will not talk to you. So when you call the health center at the college or university where your child is attending because you've heard they've been in a car accident, you don't know where they are, nobody's going to talk to you because they can't see that there's power of attorney on file. So I always suggest get a healthcare power of attorney for each child that you have away at college, and get a financial power of attorney for each kid you have away at college. And if they give you a guff about it and say, I'm not going to let you have power of attorney so that you can take my stuff, it's like, I'm actually sending you to school with my stuff.
1 minute.
So make sure you get those. And I'm happy to help with that. That'd be something that's part of the conversation. I usually do them as part of your estate plan, not just like call me and say, hey, Gary, do this, because it's too expensive that way. Probably the easiest way is to get in here, get your estate plan done. And as part of it, say, oh, Gary, I got a couple of college kids. I really want to get a power of attorney, the healthcare for them. And then we can work that into your estate plan. And the way to do that is call me 855-500-TRUST, 855-500-TRUST. It's been great to be with you today. Tomorrow is going to be Finding Joy Friday, and we have a great guest tomorrow. This is really cool. From the A&M Partnership, we have a guest that we've had on before, and his name is, I'm spacing on it, is Scott Phelps of A&M Partnership. It's going to be good. Talk to you tomorrow on the Word on Wealth, Finding Joy Friday.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995. With financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future.
The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual legal needs.